Gotcha.
In your dreams and you wake up in a sweat, it's a drag.
When you realize you're alive, no rest yet, it's a drag.
Hey, it's a drag. Yes, it is.
The Melismatics. Who are they? I can't tell you that full story because I was never involved, but I do know one of the key players fairly well. I think fairly well. They're a guitar-based power pop group, band, outfit, whatever term you'd like to use, from the Twin Cities here in Minnesota. I think initially based in the White Bear, Matamidi area, eventually moving to St. Paul. Under the name the Melismatics, they have released 7 releases, I believe, since 2001, and then another 3 previously under Ryan Smith and the Melismatics, or just Ryan Smith. But let's go back. Let's go back to the mid-90s. So I graduated from Music Tech in fall of 1993. Spring of 1994, April, I believe it was, somewhere in there. I moved out of my parents' house. I was 20. Yes, I was a little late. That's okay. And moved into a house, into a duplex over Northeast with 2 people I went to Music Tech with, Darren French and Michael Carvalli. And shortly after that, I mean, sometime, let's see, I was there between April, give or take, and October, end of October. So sometime in there, Mike joined what he called a high school punk band. And they practiced at our house. And this band was a band that I would eventually join the following year, called Stupid Jerk. Stupid Jerk at the time consisted of Mike on bass, a guy named Chad Larson on drums, who I would replace, and then the 2 guitarist, singer, songwriters in Chris Krakowski and Ryan Smith. So I got to know them through there. They practiced at our house, went to some of their shows, hung out, whatever. And then when Chad Larson decided to move, I believe she was moving to California the following spring, so this would have been spring of '95. They asked me, they knew me, and asked if I'd join, and I said, yeah, sure, why not? So I consider that my first actual band that actually played out, played in the bars, played in the clubs, doing whatever. And so, yeah, so joined up with Chris and Mike and Ryan, and did some stuff and played some shows, did some new band nights that summer here in the cities. We did the Caboose, we did the Fine Line, we did the Entry, 7th Street Entry, and Red Sea. I think that's it. And then by that December, Chris, how I understood it is that Chris got a job. Because when I joined, I think Chris was still in high school. Ryan was maybe in a senior year, maybe he had just graduated. I don't remember exactly. And then I was a wide-eyed 21-year-old, and Mike was a couple years older. So Chris got a job and therefore didn't have time to practice or something to that effect. I don't remember. Maybe they wanted to break up the band. I don't know. I mean, they'd been together since '93. Chris and Ryan went to high school together, et cetera, et cetera. So our final show was at Chautauqua, which is Matamidi High School's auditorium. And yeah, that was the final Stupid Jerk show. And I didn't know where we were going to go from there, where I was going to go, et cetera, et cetera. But so that was it for Stupid Jerk. But Ryan Smith, who is a heck of a songwriter and just a driving force, already by '95 had released this independent cassette, Juxtapossessed, under just Ryan Smith, creating his own indie record label, High Tension. Sorry of that. List of thank yous. And so he already had this out. So he already was starting to establish his solo career. So put this out in '95, sometime in '95, I would assume earlier. By December '95, Stupid Jerk is done. We've done our last show. Don't hear anything again from Ryan until '97, or maybe '96. Crap. When he released another solo album just under Ryan Smith called Streams of Unconsciousness. Which is, I really like that album. It's got some good stuff on it, and yes, it's 90% drum machine, but it does have some real drums on it. Forgot to mention that both Chris and Ryan were both hugely talented multi-instrumentalists. Both of them played guitar and bass and drums and keyboards, and Ryan also played trombone, and I mean, it's kind of insane. But so yeah, so he released Streams of Unconsciousness, I believe in it was either 96 or 98. It was one of the two. Must have been 96. And you still get a lot of the old songs that we did in Stupid Jerk, Skid Vicious being a newer one. And even looking at, I mean, the track listing on Juxtapossessed and the last Stupid Jerk, there are quite a few. There are a few similarities in the track listing. If it'll focus on that, it probably won't. I mean, a couple of the songs are the same, not a lot of them, but there is some crossover there. Obviously, he was writing songs. He was writing songs that he brought to Stupid Jerk. Some he did solo, etc., etc. So from there, he just continued down this path. 1997 saw the release of this EP, which is the first time the word Melismatics is coming to play. Come on. So this 1997 High Tension Records. Don't Need You, Poster Punk, and I'm Sorry. We joked in the inner circles that he released. There are two songs that he had a habit of reusing. One was I'm Sorry, and the other one was Speaking in Tongues, which first makes its appearance on Streams of Unconsciousness. But to this day, they still close their shows with it. So it's a stupid little song, but it's a jam. It's it's what do you do. Then in 1998, he releases a full-length Ryan Smith and the Melismatics CD, recruiting. There's Ryan, and next to him is Michael Carvalli, former bassist for Stupid Trick. So that's really cool. And Mike played with him for a couple years. As you do. And so that was cool. So 1998, 99, he's playing a lot of shows. He's doing what he does, trying to get his band together. Finally, there's some semblance of normalcy in 2001. 2001, still under the High Tension label, he releases Postmodern Rock, which is the first kind of glimpse into the fully realized Melismatics sound. Not that those weren't, but this just has, just a more cohesive band sound. And this is also where he picks up his longtime bassist, Mr. Mark Wade, who has been with him ever since. Right? Yeah. So they release this, and they even make a video for the single, Can't Relate, which you can find on their website. You can find all their videos, I think all their videos, on their website, melismatics.com. So they released this 2001, and it's a good introduction. For those that missed the EP, that missed the full, Ryan Smith and the Melismatics full length. This is a good introduction. But it wouldn't be. It was a couple years later. It was 2003 when they released their effectively second album, New Infection. This is where kind of everybody joined the party. It's a good album. It's a really good album. It's got some really, really good, catchy, all of his stuff is catchy because it's power pop. But again, like track 2, Right Where You Belong, I believe they still play that on occasion at their shows, which is, testament to how good and how impactful. Yeah, good word. Impactful this record is. And again, this is when a lot of people kind of jumped on the Melismatics bandwagon, if it were. They had moved away from Ryan's label, and we're now with Sus Tones, which probably help them as far as touring is concerned and as far as like all that stuff is concerned. But yeah, so I mean, and this also is the album because he's slowly building his final lineup, was solid lineup, where they pick up drummer Ron Karen. So now he's, you know, he's got him, he's got Mark, he's got Ron. He's almost there. 2005, correct? 2005, you see this EP. 5 songs, that's close enough for an EP. Even in recent years, they still play. I've heard him play "You're My Habit" since 2005, and I think "Automatic" as well. Get that feeling. So, and this is also on Seth Stone's. I mean, I don't know if this was just kind of a filler. I'm not sure, but it's good. I mean, all of these albums I'd say pick up if you can find them. You probably have to go see them. You might be able to find them at like Cheapo or down in the Valley or one of those places. Any used record store, you know, as much of those exist anymore. So this was kind of like still kind of coming along. But it was on the next record that they solidify the lineup by bringing in future Mrs. Ryan Smith, Pony, who was awesome, and that solidifies the lineup because then you have Ryan and Pony and Mark and Ron. And that's the lineup they've had ever since. So this album is released in 2008. And as far as I'm concerned, and I've told Ryan this, so this is not just, you know, me speaking out of turn. I told Ryan this album, The Acid Test, this is their pinnacle. Sad as it is to say, 7 years into their career as the Melismatics, they reached their pinnacle. I cannot say enough good things about this album. Even upon its release, it was my favorite of everything they've done. They still play at least half a dozen of these songs, you know, now 11 years later. Again, if you're going to do a Melismatics album, get this one. If you're only going to get one, get this one. Yeah. You cannot go wrong with this album. And I remember when this album came out. Come on, focus. What'd you do? Because they put out a video for, it's not going to focus, are you? For track 3, a song called Soul Sucker. And it was striking because it was just a band playing in essentially a white room. And it was cool. It looked like a real video. I mean, not to diss anything else they've done, but a lot of the other videos they did were, you know, looked very amateurish. But this looked really, really good. And it's kind of like, oh, I mean, not that they weren't a real band before, but they kind of were. I mean, after that album, that's what really kind of broke them, I think. Because before that, they had done, some touring regionally, obviously, maybe even playing New York, LA. But I don't think it was till after the acid test that they went like over to England and Scotland, Wales, all of the UK. I don't know if they ever ventured into Europe at all, but I mean, I think it was after the acid test that all that kind of happened. I could be completely wrong, but again, this is just from my knowledge of them and my, what I know of them as a friend and a fan. There you go. And as I said, that as far as I'm concerned, that's their pinnacle. That's as I told Ryan. I mean, that's the best, as far as I'm concerned. Personal opinion. That's the best this band has ever been. Because leading up to that, it was all very, very happy power pop stuff, which is Ryan is very, very good at writing. And nothing wrong with that. But and each record they matured a little bit more and a little bit more and got a little bit better and whatever. But on the acid test, you have still have that fun spirit, but you have a maturity, you have a cynicism that starts to creep in. But it's still got that energy. It's still got that light. And not that their other stuff doesn't. It's just, I don't know. It just, and again, not that I, completely dismissed them after that, because I didn't. Because they're my friends. I've known them forever. But it just wasn't quite the same. 2012, so four year gap. 2012 brings Mania. Which was introduced by the first single, Your Love's a Poison. And this was right around, I believe this is right around the time of Tron Legacy, the Tron sequel that took like 30 years to make. And so the video for Your Love is a Poison is very, very black and neon. Very, very Tron looking, which attracted me immediately because I am a fan of Tron. I like the original. I actually really, really, really like the sequel. I'm one of the few people I know that actually really, really likes the sequel. So of course that grabs you right away, that visual. And the song is good. It's a little bit more dancey. It's a little bit, I don't want to say, techno or anything, but it's not quite the guitar-based stuff that we were used to. But it's still good. I mean, and so, obviously I get the album and I don't have it physically because I somehow misplaced it somewhere. And I will have to rectify that. But that's when it started to not decline. But I think some of the original energy, some of the original light, as we'll call it, was kind of gone. And I don't want to say it got corporate. I don't want to say there was a lot of record company influence. The fact that some of their songs at this point, maybe even off of the acid test, I don't remember, were starting to be used in TV shows, like CW shows and a couple of MTV shows. And maybe they were just kind of, feeding that a little bit, but it didn't quite have the same energy, the same power, the same whatever you want to call it. Don't want to use the term watered down, but so then 2013, they took a 4-year hiatus, and then just released. 2012 we have Mania, 2013 we have Rising Tide, which again is a good album. It's a solid album, but again, not, you know, they still play Halo, which is track 2. They did a video for Close to the Vest. That was a single. The title track they might still play. I'm not exactly sure. But again, I mean, and obviously they've you know, grown up by this point. I mean, Ryan is not the kind of goofy, pseudo absent-minded kid that I knew in 1995. You know, he had become a musician, like full-time, and every time I saw him, you could tell that it was you know, wearing on him a little bit more and a little bit more. I mean, plus also the fact that by this point, him and Pony, I believe, were married, had a daughter. Skylar was born, and so I mean, he obviously was under, you know, some pressure, and there was some life changes and all that. But he still went up there and did what he did. 2014, and Ryan, when you watch this, you're going to have to correct me on this. I believe 2014 was the last new, which isn't even really new, but the last release that the Melismatics had, which was kind of a B-side, outtake, etc. kind of CD called The Future is History. And again, that stuff got stuff going back to, you know, the first album and beyond. It's got some live stuff on it. It's got Speaking in Tongues, I believe, from the Ritz in New York. But yeah, I mean, since then they've played sparingly, only because in addition to the Melismatics, Ryan Smith has also in recent years become the second guitar player in a little band called Soul Asylum. So he's a little bit busy because they like tour internationally and stuff. Also, him and Pony have a side project, aptly named Ryan and Pony, which is I believe is a lot more like dance based. I haven't actually seen them. Sorry. So yeah, is that going on? He does. He supports a lot of the like songwriting showcases, and they do the Replacements tribute every year. He's involved in that. He's kind of, I mean, he's known around town, obviously. Him and Mark, I believe, still teach lessons at Twin Town Guitars in South Minneapolis. So, I mean, it's not like he's not busy. I mean, he's got stuff going on. I did just see today being the November 27th, that the Melismatics do have a show coming up, I believe the end of December at Hook and Ladder. So I'm definitely going to have to go to that, because it's been way too long since I've seen any of those guys. But yeah. And so yeah, they're still playing, still together, still doing what they do. They may have matured, because, you know, we all get older and that's what happens, but still, one of my favorite bands to come out of this area. And yeah, I mean, that's about all I got. So if you're not familiar, get familiar. If you see that they're playing, go check them out. I will do a link to their website. You can check that out. stalk them on Facebook, do all that fun stuff. But yeah, they're a great band, and they should be appreciated. And yeah, so I guess that's it. Until I find something else I want to rant or rave about, we'll talk to you later.